Resilience, the ability to recover from or adjust easily to misfortune or change. Got to have it. It's going to happen, but man, we got to excel in it. The cracks of living life, playing in the NFL, fill them with gold,
man. It just comes back to your preparation, because you are going to get thrown in there at a moment's notice like the other night, or for one game or for multiple games. And like in college, he said, college, you got thrown in there randomly. It comes back to your preparation. All those reps you get with the 2s and 3s, they all matter, because when you're with the 1s, you got to be able to perform, and that's kind of what you draw on.
It's week number 2 of this NFL season, and time for another edition of the Mike McCarthy Show, powered by Reliant Energy, inside the Globe Life studio here at the Star in Frisco. Bill Jones along with Cowboys head coach Mike McCarthy. It's the Cowboys and the Cincinnati Bengals, 3:25 kickoff Sunday afternoon at AT&T Stadium. And coaches, we kick things off playing the Bengals this week. Just the mental outlook of the team throughout this week, coming off the tough loss last week, in more ways than one, not only losing the game, but also losing Dak Prescott for the time being.
Yeah, definitely. We had four significant injuries in the game, and coming out, that's what Monday's for. You kind of get a chance to evaluate, to go through and correct. But I'll just say this: the players came back Wednesday, ready to go, and I think that is so important in September football, because you have to get into your regularity, you got to get into your process, and there's a routine to this that you really don't have the opportunity just the way training camps laid up today and the way the design of it. So it's important to turn that page once you finish up Monday, and I think the team did a really nice job of that.
As Cooper Rush makes the start this week, how nice is it first on Dak to have him? He was out on the practice field on Thursday, just to have him not go on injured reserve and actually be here with the team and be able to help out in any way he can.
Oh, man, it's awesome. I think everybody just thinks the world of Dak, and but I think he took a day or two just to heal and make sure you try to get some rest, but he's back at it already, and it's always great to have him around.
Okay, Cooper, of course, made the start against the Vikings, a win last year, threw for over 300 yards in that game. It's nice having a veteran guy like him in this role where he fills in for Dak now. What's the big thing, though, against this particular team that Cooper Rush needs to understand?
Well, I think the biggest thing is just stay with the game plan, which he will. Not that it's a concern, and just not try to do too much. And I think Cooper did an excellent job of that in Minnesota. The great thing is we have that experience to draw from. Cooper's very, very respected, in the whole football operations. Very consistent, very bright. So, he's put together a very good week of work, and the biggest thing is to carry it Sunday and just be smart with the football and keep the team in rhythm and so forth, and I think he'll do a heck of a job.
What do you see in this Cincinnati defense? I tell you, when I look at last week's game against Pittsburgh, that front four is the effort that they play with is intense, and they've got some talent up front on defense.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's really the first thing that jumps off the tape at you. Not only their effort, but you can see their fundamentals and technique and what they're being taught, and they all play the same way too. So I think that definitely dictates to the discipline that they have, the experience they have in the system, are very systematic in what they do. They definitely have an aggressive nature schematically, with the empty pressure and things like that. But it definitely starts up front. Very, very impressive group.
What about your offensive line? Of course, 8th play of the game, you lose Connor McGovern. Matt Farniok fills in there at left guard, but specifically Tyler Smith, how do you look at left tackle once you graded the tape?
I think Tyler and Matt both did a nice job. I think the run game is something that comes pretty natural. Both those guys, just as far as their play style, and just they'll definitely be a week better in protection. So I was pleased with the way both men played.
All right, we're just getting started on this edition of the Mike McCarthy Show. Up next, it's David Moore of the Dallas Morning News.
The Mike McCarthy Show, presented by Reliant, is brought to you by AT&T, the official 5G innovation partner of the Dallas Cowboys. Ford F-Series, the best-selling truck in Texas. The University of North Texas, proud partner of the Dallas Cowboys. Miller Lite, the only beer of the Cowboys. It's Miller time. And by Reliant, an NRG company.
You know, we've been in these shoes last year. You know, it almost is identical. We was 0-1 last year, going against an extremely talented offense, but it was the Chargers. And it might not have been Dak, but it was D-Law, and everyone was crushed. And, you know, of course, we had people that stepped up. People wanted to step up again, and that's what we got to bank on, people stepping up and getting ready to prepare their best into these roles. We can't miss a beat, and we got to come out here and get this win. Injuries happen. It's the game we play, but we got to step up and play football.
The Mike McCarthy Show, powered by Reliant Energy, continues now inside the Globe Life studio. Bill Jones now joined by David Moore of the Dallas Morning News, SportsDayDFW.com, as the Cowboys take on the Cincinnati Bengals, 3:25 Sunday afternoon, and they do it without Dak Prescott. You know, you go look back a week ago after the injury, and it looked like it's going to be November before Dak is back. Now things look a little bit different on the Dak injury front.
Yeah, it does. Initially, there was concern the level of the break was going to keep him out 68 weeks, and realistically, that would have been in mid-November after their bye week. But once they got in and performed the surgery, they found the fracture was restricted to the bone above the joint. It didn't actually intrude into the joint, and that is where you add time to it. So it accelerates the recovery time because you're not dealing with the joint now, and you're looking probably at some point in mid-October when Dak Prescott's going to be able to return. Now, what happens in the interim? You know, what is their record in that period, and what's this team going to look like when he is able to come back?
Yeah, how big do you think it is, even from a psychological standpoint, that he did not go on injured reserve? We saw him; he came out to practice with a smile on his face on
Found
Thursday.
it out on Thursday.
He is able to be with the team and helping Cooper Rush as he goes along here.
In the short term, I think that does help because losing the way they did in the opener, and then hearing you may not have your starting quarterback until mid-November, just emotionally it's hard to put all that aside because so much happened so quickly. Then suddenly 24 hours later you're hearing, oh wait, he's not going to be out that long. It's potentially half that time he's going to be out. I think you know you're going to have to catch some breaks and perform at a certain level in the interim to still be relevant once he does come back. I say it's a lot easier to hold on for 4 weeks than it is for 8 weeks. So I think that is a big emotional lift, but you have to go out and execute on the field in order for that to show you any dividends.
Well, and there's examples around the league, even on Monday night, where you've got Geno Smith in Seattle beating a high-dollar superstar quarterback in Russell Wilson in the Broncos. Let's go back a year ago, though. Micah Parsons had some interesting comments this week, looking back at after that Tampa Bay loss last year.
Well, I'll say Micah always has interesting comments every week, but this was good. He went back to last year, and he said, to me, this mirrors what was happening last year. We lost to Tampa Bay in the opener, where, you know, we go into the second game and we'd lost a key player. I think the Dallas defense especially is positioned here. Who is going to step up with Dak Prescott out now? It's not just about Cooper Rush and what he does or CeeDee Lamb. You need those components. But defensively, who is going to step up? It's about complementary football, as we continually hear.
Yeah, and against a Cincinnati team that has some explosion on offense.
Yeah. Now, they're coming off a game where they had 5 turnovers in the opener. And but when Dallas's defense was at its best last year, it was forcing the issue. It was getting turnovers. It was flipping the field. They're going to have to do that. This unit is actually better than it was last season. I would even argue better than it was to end last season. So that is a natural place to look to help give you some balance on what you lost offensively with Dak Prescott's injury.
All right, David Moore, we appreciate it. And speaking of takeaways, up next here on the Mike McCarthy Show, a defensive player who came away with a takeaway in the season opener against Tampa Bay.
This segment is brought to you by Blockchain.com. Trusted by millions. Trusted by America's team.
Donovan Wilson, safety, year 4. Just taking it one play, one practice, and one game at a time. Everybody has a lot of trust in me, so that really helps. I feel like I've been playing it for more than 2 years now, but I'm real comfortable. It allows you to play fast and feed off your teammates. I would say the versatile, like you could be in a different position at anything in the disguises. I'd say just been coming up as a receiver and playing that position, so I always feel like if I got a chance to get the ball, it's mine, so just that mentality. Yeah, it felt great. Hopefully we can build off that as a team and then get more on next week. It's the same thing. We always have that mentality as if the offense don't score, we win. So with Dak at quarterback or without it, we always have that same mentality. I'll say him and the chemistry he has with his receivers, knowing all his guys' strong suit, and being able to play off that.
Donovan Wilson, the fourth-year man out of Texas A&M, had a pick against Tampa Bay on Sunday night. And then here's a guy at the safety position. It's so important in Dan Quinn's defense. And to see Donovan Wilson, he's always been a playmaker and a guy who just sort of jumps off the screen every time he plays, to me anyway.
Well, I'll tell you what, he's always around the ball and he will strike. I mean, we all love Donovan. I just love the way Dono plays. You know, it's just great to see him go through the offseason that he had a tremendous offseason, and he got off to a big start in week 1. So Dono's, he's a juice player. He brings the intensity each and every day, and I just love the way he plays.
And Jaron Kearse, of course, goes down with the injury last Sunday night against Tampa Bay, and there's opportunities for safeties to step up. Israel Mukuamu, second-year guy out of South Carolina, is a guy who was inactive last week, and there's opportunities for those safeties to fill in, right?
Definitely. I mean, it really starts on special teams, number one, because, obviously with Malik and Dono there, but, I think both young men have done a really nice job. And I am so proud of Israel because, he's taken a huge step from last year. He's had a great training camp. I think he had 2 interceptions throughout the preseason. He's made a number of plays on the ball. He played corner, so his ability to be a matchup player for us. He's definitely a young man with a high ceiling, and he's taken a huge jump. And I'm excited to see him play.
All right, up next here on the Mike McCarthy Show, we take an up-close look at that Bengals offense.
This segment was brought to you by Blockchain.com. Trusted by millions. Trusted by America's team. This segment is brought to you by WinStar World Casino and Resort, the casino of the Dallas Cowboys.
Last year adversity hit fast just like this year, and really, it's not about last year, but being able to go through that adversity just gives us the sense of, how to control it and weave through it and, make sure we get our job done.
Welcome back to the Mike McCarthy Show, powered by Reliant Energy inside the Globe Life Studios. We look ahead to Sunday's 3:25 kickoff, the Cowboys and the Bengals. Let's turn our attention now, Coach, to the defense, and how about we start with Micah Parsons, who takes up where he left off last year with a couple of sacks last week against Tom Brady and the Bucs. But what I want to ask you about Micah, and especially in a week like this has been, the maturity level that he has been, even such a young player, as far as a leader on this team. He is determined to lead this team to get back on track this week, it seems like to me.
Yeah, definitely. Mike is off to a great start this year. And really the last couple of weeks in practice, he's been so disruptive. And he's, he is definitely the classic impact player. And, and I think he takes a lot of pride in, that he is an elite player and, the ability to affect, and make everybody around him better. So he got off to a great start against Tampa, and, I just love the way he brings it, particularly in the competitive periods in practice. So he's obviously a big part of our big part of our defense.
Speaking of elite players, there are some elite players on that Bengals offense. Let's start at the quarterback position with Joe Burrow. Of course, Cincinnati making it to the Super Bowl last year, the AFC champions. What is it when you're defending Joe Burrow? What's the big thing to keep in mind?
Well, I mean, number one, you got to be impressed with with his arm talent and his athletic ability. But for a young quarterback, very instinctive, very aware, very aggressive with the football. Plays with great confidence. And they call the offense that way too. So obviously has an excellent perimeter group around him. But Joe Burrow is a very, very impressive young man. His ball placement, ability to throw the deep ball as accurate as he does, very, very impressed.
And of course, with those wideouts that he has, starting with Jamar Chase, who was the 5th pick in the draft last year, and of course they go back to their time at LSU. Going to be an interesting matchup this week because Alabama's Trayvon Diggs on one side for the Cowboys too. They go back to the college days as well. Jamar Chase is a pretty impressive player, isn't he?
Yeah, definitely. These guys have played a little football against each other in college, but yes, just in his ability to yards after the catch, to go vertical, make the contested catch. So he's definitely one of the elite receivers in the game. So really, I've been very impressed with their whole offensive perimeter group.
Yep. You look at their offense and Joe Mixon at running back, their game against Pittsburgh last week goes into overtime. They ran 100 plays on offense, and Mixon touches the ball, I think, 34 times. You look at last season, he had 20 games and had over 400 touches. They use him in a variety of ways too, don't they?
Yeah, he's the thermometer. He keeps things regulated. He keeps them in good down and distances. I really like the way Joe Mixon runs. He's a stretch and one-cut player, and he really does an excellent job of getting square and getting north and south. But excellent runner and obviously a featured player in their offense.
How about your defensive line, especially those interior guys? You had several with tackles for losses last week, including Oso Odigizua. Quentin Bohanna came through. D-Law also had a TFL in last week's game. You have to like what you got up front on defense, don't you?
I love them. I love those guys. That whole defensive front, not only, are they so competitive, but you see them compete, all week because, it's a challenge to get everybody up. So the rotation's been excellent. Their impact plays obviously are a big factor, but we're gonna have to play big Sunday against Cincinnati.
All right, we wrap up this edition of the Mike McCarthy Show in just a moment.
This segment was brought to you by WinStar World Casino and Resort, the casino of the Dallas Cowboys.
We've talked about all year, it's a penalty. We can't go backwards. And, in that game the other night, we did some good things, and penalty can go backwards. So I think finishing every play without a minus kind of mindset, that'd be a good place to start there.
Final couple of minutes here of the Mike McCarthy Show, powered by Reliant Energy. Bill Jones with Mike McCarthy. And I'd like to close the show with a guy, last year we did unsung heroes, each week unsung stars. This guy is not an unsung star. Everybody knows his name, but I'd like to just give a little shout out to a guy named Zach Martin, who is, of course, a 7-time Pro Bowler. And the media relations staff came up with a great stat last week on Zach Martin. 7 Pro Bowls in his career, only 5 holding penalties, which is very remarkable. But especially coming off a week like this, I would think that having a rock like Zach Martin in your locker room leading the way is something that you can really lean on.
No, excellent point. Zach's everything you want in a veteran player. Obviously he's a perennial Pro Bowl player, but he practices the same way. He's in the weight room early. He's in the classroom. He is so consistent. And it's a joy to coach. But I think we all recognize him as a player. But I just really appreciate him as a person because when you're building a program and you want to do things a certain way, and he's been here and he's had success, and he's just all in and just so impressive to work with him every day.
All right, well, good luck against those Bengals on Sunday afternoon.
Thank you, Bill.
And we appreciate you joining us here on the Mike McCarthy Show. We will see you again next week when the Cowboys will be headed on the road to play at those New York Giants.
The Mike McCarthy Show, presented by Reliant, was brought to you by Blockchain.com. Trusted by millions, trusted by America's team. Ford F-Series, the best-selling truck in Texas. Bank of America, the official bank of the Dallas Cowboys. Miller Lite, the only beer of the Cowboys. It's Miller time. And by NFL Game Pass. You'll never miss a game again. Enjoy full and condensed game replays from Week 1 to the Super Bowl.